Good afternoon, I'm Jeff. I'm a Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 2500 Northeast Mason Street here in Portland. We're located in the basement of the home right up against the front foundation wall. We have a 4-inch cast iron cleanout as our point of access. I'm going to insert the camera and check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. We currently have water running. I'm going to zero out the camera counter right here at the base of the cleanout. Here we go. Looks like we might have a little bit of standing water right off the bat here. We'll take a look at this. Like currently here, I can tell we do have some bellying that's occurred. We'll have a better look at all that stuff on the way out when the pipe's drained. Okay, so it looks like we have transitioned here either over to clay or concrete, and you can see that what's happened, the line is basically done here. The whole pipe is completely full of debris. You've got 3 to 4 inches of debris buildup sitting in the flow line. Now, what likely has happened here in the flow line is the pipe has collapsed there. Something of that nature has caused all that debris to build up. You can see how much of this pipe here is filled up. There's about 3 inches of debris sitting in the flow line. And then you get right over here where all the debris is gone. You can see how it should look. We've got a lot of rocks in the flow line here. Those little things right there are pebbles. And those are either aggregate rock that have broken away from the actual pipe material, or they've come in from the outside. But the whole line here it's at a point where it needs to be replaced. It is done. It's nothing but rock and gravel and dirt. Now we're going to push out here. I'm going to try and locate everything as best I can. Yeah, it's amazing this thing is even still working. And then right here, this is going to be the city transition at 55 feet. This is the 6-inch 30-34. So more than likely we're sitting right at the street curb right here. We'll push all the way out. No, maybe not. I don't know if there was a spot repair down there or what the deal is, because it just switched back over to, looks like clay. Try and get the camera lens cleaned off here a little bit if we can. And that's kind of the tough part with this line is we don't have good water flow through it to help keep the camera lens clean, so it's a little hard to see some detail. Right here, this is definitely the main lateral connection here, or at least it appears to be at 69 feet, and I'll go locate to verify that. This last turn right here, this is a line that's old enough that it's possible could have party line. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Now that the camera lens is clean, I can tell this portion of the line has had a liner put into it. Anyway, I'm going to go locate the camera head, find out where we're at, and then we're going to shut the water off, let it drain out. In fact, what we're going to do here is we're going to reel back to the city transition. You can see that the water finally just percolated through there after running for 5 minutes or more. Anyway, that's no surprise. The whole line is full of debris, but this is one of those that's just kind of waiting to back up on you at this point. Once it gets filled up enough, it will. Alright, I'm going to locate the camera head here. We'll map everything out from the transition point here at 55 feet all the way back to the cast iron transition. Or at the very least, or possibly all the way to the foundation. We'll take a look at everything. Alright, I went and put a white X right here. This is an easy spot to find. There is a city cleanout installed right here just past the driveway skirt, as well as a green tag marking where the line runs over the curb. But this is where the issues with all the stuff ends at, is right at the street edge. So everything from basically at this point, at the very least from the cast iron transition to the street needs to be replaced. We'll see how the cast iron's looking on the way back in here. Now, there's a possibility that a lot of this junk has come in from a spot further down line, or I guess behind the camera, and has kind of made its way down the line here. But if you've got pipe that's already in a condition where it's breaking apart. This is what happens when the flow line completely breaks out, and the bottom of the pipe is essentially what everything's flowing over at this point is just dirt and rocks and all kinds of crap have come into the line. So you might have portions of this that are still in decent shape that just have a bunch of rocks, but there's absolutely no reason at this point to do spot repair. The line needs a replacement. If you try and spot repair this or drain clean stuff out of it, which is probably impossible at this point, you're just kind of babying it along until the rest of it falls apart. So there's no reason to even try and do that. It just needs a replacement. Now we're going to do markings here about every 10 feet. I'm going to go do another one here at 41 feet. All right, I just got a white line down here showing the direction it's running. I'm still getting it around 6 feet deep, 6 foot 3 inches. Okay, right here at about 18 feet, this is our cast iron transition. Now, with the line this age, you know, a lot of times people will leave the cast iron in the ground because it generally will hold up a lot longer than concrete. It's still, it's something you have to think about. This is still a probably 70, 80-year-old cast iron line, and it too, like concrete, does have a lifespan. It's usually a lot longer, but if you're planning on being in the house a while, you may consider redoing the cast iron pipe as well. And once the line goes forward to this foundation wall in the house here, most of it is actually underneath dirt, even in this kind of little crawl space area, and I'll show that. It is something that I would highly recommend looking into doing a trenchless repair on this. The line kind of does appear to run under some concrete, or close enough to it you'll probably have to deal with concrete. So I would look into doing like a trenchless bore or something of that nature to do the repair. I'll map this thing out all the way to the foundation, and from the foundation in would be up to the repair guys to kind of find that stuff. Alrighty, I have paint markings out on the ground. The most accurate is going to be the one right at the street curb. Once you start coming back on property, I think my locates are fairly spot on or pretty close. The depth, however, is in question. There's overhead power lines running almost directly over the top where this line is running, and my locator is having a hard time discerning between the line or the camera and the power lines. It's just bouncing all over the place. So the paint markings out there, you should be looking at them purely for reference reason. I think the locate, again, is fairly accurate. The depth, however, I'm not confident in just because of how much it's bouncing around. So I do recommend calling for locates to have this double checked, but it looks like the depth is ranging here from right around 5 feet to about 6.5 feet by the time you hit the street curb area. That's just going on the kind of bouncy locates that I'm getting as it sits right now. But again, I recommend a full replacement all the way back to at least the cast iron transition. All right, we cleaned the camera lens off here. We're just going to go back through the cast iron just to take a look at it. Now we do have some belly pipe here. And that water level is hovering right around a 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, depending on the part of the belly you're in. This is totally drained out here. For that reason, I recommend a full replacement from the cast iron clean out here in the basement all the way out to the street edge. It's not like this spot here won't function, but you've got rough cast iron with about a 10-foot belly in it. It's a spot that if you put something down the line that shouldn't go down there, especially with the roughness of cast iron, it's a very good chance it's going to hang up here. No, it's not an absolute necessity to replace this, but with the amount of work that's ahead already, and the potential to do this trenchlessly, I would try and replace everything. From at least this point right here. You can see that the belly starts at about 5 feet in. But if you're going this distance, you might as well take it all the way back to the cast iron clean out, or right at the foundation wall here. So I'm going to go ahead and reel the camera out here. It would require a toilet pole. There's not a rear clean out in this house. unfortunately. No, but aside from the little bit of a belly there going on, the cast iron pipe itself looked to be in good condition. So if that tells you anything, if you don't scope under the floor here, there's a good chance it too is in good condition. But again, we can't scope that without either having a clean out installed back here on that stack or pulling the toilet upstairs to scope it. Anyhow, this is our front foundation wall. This is where the line's going out through the front of the house. This first about 10 feet or so, you can see here, is crawl space area and just dirt. So I mean, you could feasibly dig down almost the entire repair here without dealing with a whole lot of concrete, at least, or the concrete floor. So anyway, recommend a floor replacement of the line here from the cast iron clean out all the way out to the street edge. And I highly recommend a rescope afterwards to ensure that it was installed properly and hasn't bellied out or has bad joints or anything of that nature.